This is Mr. Rooter Plumbing. Date and time are stamped on the screen. We are doing a video inspection of the sewer line at 3812 Manchester Street in Colorado Springs, 80907. Currently we are at the end of the sewer line, and we are looking down. You can see the opening where we tie into the city main. There is a slight offset in this joint where the two pieces of pipe are not quite lined up right. And so it's preventing me from getting the camera to get up to the actual connection on the city main. But the connection to the main looks pretty good from what I can tell here. The last joint is clear, looks very clean. We'll go ahead and bring the camera back. We'll see a couple spots that still have some roots even after just cleaning the line. And we'll go through everything that we find here. So it's not terrible, but you can see the slightly offset joint, and that little lip right there is preventing me from getting the camera past that spot. But like I said, the actual connection to the city main looks good from what I can tell here, and maybe a tiny bit of root getting through right there, but not terrible, so we'll keep going back. So you can see there's still quite a bit of tree roots in the line right there. Reason being, we're currently in a 4-inch clay tile pipe. The biggest access we have inside the house to get into this line to service it is the 3-inch test tee that's down in the basement. And then we do have to go through a handful of turns. So the biggest blade that I'm able to fit through here to get all the way out is about 2.5 inches. And as you can see, we've only got maybe about 2.5 inches of that pipe cleaned out. So it's kind of the best that we can do with what we've got right now. But it's only the last handful of joints that have decent amount of roots. The rest of the line is pretty clear from root intrusions. But we'll keep going and see what else we can find. And we're losing picture right there because we are actually coming backwards through a little bit of water. And I'm sure the water is sitting in that pipe because it's a little bit flat. The pipe itself doesn't have a whole lot of downhill pitch towards the end. And then the roots that are in there are slowing down the drainage a little bit still. Another good spot with some roots right there. That pipe's still probably the top. Probably 40% of that pipe, top 50% is still somewhat obstructed from the roots right there. That joint looks pretty good. And right here we're making a 45-degree turn, and you can see at that 45 pipe does look like it's got a decent little gap right there where those roots getting in, and you can kind of see there's a big crack in the pipe, and so there's a piece that's just kind of floating there. So not in the greatest condition through the turn here, but it is still at least intact where water is flowing through. Bunch of roots in this joint from what I remember from snaking the line. About the distance out, this spot did put up a little bit of a fight. So. And here we are starting to go back underwater again. And we will be underwater for a little while here before we come back out. So about an 18-20 foot section of piping where we are underwater somewhat. What that is, the line itself has a little bit of a belly or a sag to it. So about 18 or 20 feet or so, that pipe is running downhill and then back uphill against grade. And so there's a spot where that pipe essentially is sagged and it is holding water in that spot, which is making it collect buildup and debris. I didn't feel anything detrimental as far as an offset or collapsing joint or anything. It's just that that pipe has sagged, it's dipping down then back uphill before we return to normal grade. So that spot is always going to be holding water, which does mean that it's most likely always going to be leaking some water. And it is always going to be collecting debris because it's holding water there. And right here we are actually back into the cast iron piping, which is underneath the house. Our transition point is probably right about here. And you can see the top of the pipe is on the right side of the screen. There's an opening on the right side there, which is the top of the pipe, and then another one right there. Those are not holes in the pipe. That's the installer, the plumber who laid the plumbing underground when the house was built, put in a fitting that would bring that section of pipe, an access to that line up to ground level so we could drop a cable in to service the line from outside. However, it has been covered up and most likely was never brought to ground level, which was very, very, very common. In the mid-60s, they would install the fitting for the clean out, and the inspectors would come by, do their drawing, sign off, and then they would just cap it and bury it, 6-8 foot deep and never bring it up to ground level. So anyways, that's what that is, but that is our transition point where we are going from 4-inch clay piping back into 3-inch cast iron. So right now we're at the edge of the foundation and coming back, and the cast iron itself looks good. So the piping itself is still intact. It is draining. It does obviously have some issues towards the end of the line. The roots are thick enough to where we can only grab a hold of what we can, and the pipe is still at least probably 50% obstructed. Again, all of that has to do with the access that we have, and you can see we go through a handful of turns. We're not able to get even a true 3-inch blade through the cast iron piping, so we're cleaning about 50% of the pipe. So the other issue that we found is the sag in the line, which looks like that is all in private property. I'll go ahead and attach a sewer plat map to the invoice, and that way you'll have a map or a drawing of how the sewer line itself is running and where that sag is located. But the overall condition of the line is really not bad. It's just that it's going to need to be babysat very much, and it's going to need proper access so we can clean the line correctly to stay on top of it. Otherwise we will be doing an entire line replacement much sooner than expected. So I think as long as we stay on top of keeping the line clean and we can do it properly, which means we have to have outside access that we can get into to do proper cleaning, it should last for some time, but it will need to be babysat in its current condition for sure.